Thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2. It's a great day to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's jump right in. So Joey Porter Jr. today, he came out and he said that he feels like he's being treated unfairly by the media, by the fan base, because he hasn't given up a touchdown in 3 years. And he said that he feels like people concentrate too much on his penalties. And I think that's a very fair statement. You know, every time I hear somebody talk about Joey Porter Jr., I think I was saying junior before, but I'm talking about junior, not senior, obviously. Every time I hear the fans talk about Joey Porter Jr., there is this type of sentiment like, oh, you know, I'm just waiting for Joey to mess it up again, or, you know, so I think it's very fair. And whenever you hear about the best cornerbacks in the league, do you ever hear Joey Porter Jr.'s name? I mean, it's a pass-happy league. There's millions of passes thrown every single game. He hasn't given up a touchdown in 3 years, and he doesn't get mentioned with the top, he doesn't get mentioned with the top corners in the NFL. So I think he has a very fair point here. Let me jump into the article. Just give me a second. Give me 1 minute. Trying to sign into my hold on. Trying to sign into my super chats. We're going to see how much money Joey Porter Jr. gets pretty soon, because I think his contract is up. But and also you have to remember the market. Do I think he's a very good player? Absolutely. I think he's a good player. But when you compare the market, what's out there, he's a phenomenal player compared to what's next if the Steelers let him go. And I think with Dean and Joey Porter Jr., we have probably, you know, a top-notch cornerback league, a top-notch cornerback duel in the entire league. So I think people are sleeping on Joey Porter Jr., and I think people are sleeping on how good our cornerbacks are going to be this year. You know, there's this talk about Jalen Ramsey playing the slot corner. I think that's over. And I think that's a mistake if you think you can even go there. I mean, the majority of you have watched every game last year just like me, and I don't think that he's that guy anymore. So this talk kind of makes me laugh sometimes when I read it, but hey. Let's jump into the article. You probably want to kill me taking so long to get in it, but hold on. Come on. I'll talk about buzzkill. Oh, here we go. Having given up a touchdown in 3 years, Joey Porter Jr. thinks media unfairly focuses on his penalties. Let me look up real quick how many penalties Joey Porter Jr. had last year. He had 6 penalties for 56 yards. The total consisted primarily of 5 defensive pass interference calls and 1 illegal contact penalty. I mean, it's a 17-week game schedule, 5 pass interferences. You figure teams throw the ball 30 times a game. Pretty good numbers to me. So I think Joey Porter Jr. definitely has a valid argument here. And that is the sentiment amongst fans, so he's not lying. Confidence is key, and a great cornerback, Joey Porter Jr., has the box checked when it comes to his assessment of his own game. Entering his 4th season, he has earned the reputation as one of the top cover corners in the league, even as some fans and media critique him for his penalties. During an appearance on the Blueprint podcast, Porter was asked if he thinks he should be considered one of the top cornerbacks in the NFL. He didn't hold back. I feel like I snapped my year 2, even though it wasn't my best performance my whole season, because I had so many penalties that year, Porter said. I feel like that's what people really harp on my game about is the PIs and the penalties, but it's like y'all hold other DB under that microscope or grade them under that. I haven't given up a touchdown in 3 years. No wide receiver put up over 50, 60 yards on my head alone, and I travel with the best of them, and they want to talk about penalties. You could have that debate, but it gets to a certain point. I think he's absolutely right. Because these refs on any given Sunday, they're absolutely terrible. I mean, they'll call pass interference on anything. The hand fighting that goes on. If you even, touch a guy's jersey on the outside of the shoulder pad instead of in here, if you even look at it, if you even breathe on it, they're throwing a flag. And I'm glad that he said this, and I'm glad this was brought up, because I always do feel like you really do get this vibe when you're at the games or when you talk to other fans in general, like that Joey Porter Jr. is like a liability out there. So I can't, he definitely has a valid point here. I mean, this is definitely excellent point by Joey Porter Jr. So he also talks about his goals for 2026. That's the next big step. Joey Porter Jr. outlines big 2026 goals. Entering his 4th NFL season, Pittsburgh Steelers cornerback Joey Porter Jr. has made serious strides. He's even quieted concerns over his frequent penalties, but the one narrative that still sits against him is his lack of interceptions and takeaways. In 2026, Porter's aim is to change that story too. Appearing on the Blueprint podcast in a full interview posted on the show's YouTube channel on Monday, Porter outlined his 2026 goals. Keep the main thing, he told the show. Keep elevating my game and not getting complacent. That's the main thing I'm working on. How am I going to lock down these dudes and get turnovers? I feel like that's the next step, getting them turnovers. That, you know what, is going to come. I'm going to start to get those. Through 3 seasons, Porter hasn't gotten many. He has 3 career interceptions, 1 in each season. His first takeaway was his most memorable, taking a ball away from Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson that was intended for wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. in a crucial Steelers victory. I think part of that could be attributed to Tomlin also. The scheme that we were running. If you notice, I mean, none of our defensive backs were really getting interceptions. Like, yeah, of course, some, 50-50. Some of it falls on the player. Some of it falls on the coach's scheme. But I do anticipate all of our players playing much better under Coach Mike McCarthy's scheme and his coaching staff. So I do think Joey Porter Jr. is going to be he's an excellent player. It really hit me today when I read this. I was like, I think I've been kind of looking at him the way he's saying, like he's a liability. I just read the stats. He only had 5 pass interference calls. Now, fine. Excuse me. I just drank a soda. If he gets a pass interference call and it costs you a trip to the playoffs or it loses you a game in the playoffs or you lose the Super Bowl and you're pissed off, I get it. But during the course of the season, especially if you still win the game, I mean, if it costs you a game, I I understand. But again, teams are throwing the ball 40 times a game, 42 times a game. He is a bigger physical corner. Sometimes I would like to see him like more pressed up on the line of scrimmage against the wide receiver and really let him that first 5 yards, really bump a guy, really use his physical size. But this was an excellent point today by Joey Porter Jr. And I'm going to have to reassess my opinion of him also. I mean, I always put him in like a B tier or like a B player. And now that I'm reading these facts, no touchdown in 3 years, only 5 penalties the year before, no wide receivers put up over 50 yards against him. That's elite. He's elite at what he does. That's an elite player. That's the cream of the crop corner in the league. And I think it's only going to be better this year with Jameel Dean on the other side. I got to check how I pronounce his name. I don't want to be saying his name wrong. But excellent point today by Joey Porter Jr. I can't talk. He had me thinking, so. Todd McShay thinks quarterback prospect linked to Steelers is most underrated player in the draft. Remember, North Dakota State, they do pump out a lot of good quarterbacks. I think the Eagles had one before, somebody else. Cole Payton is the most underrated prospect in the entire NFL draft. I think he's a day 2 pick, and he's going to surprise some people coming out of North Dakota State, McShay said. Payton is athletic with a big arm, but there's a concern about his accuracy and his mechanics. He's an intriguing flyer for a team to take, but it's interesting to hear McShay call Payton a day 2 pick. That will put him in the same tier as players such as Penn State's Drew Aller, who I do not like at all, and LSU's Garrett Nussmeier, and there could be a run on quarterbacks in day 2. Who I can't remember the Eagles. Oh, let me look it up so I know what I'm talking about. Eagles quarterback from North Dakota State. He was good for a while, then he fell off. No. Oh, let me look at it. Ex-Philadelphia quarterbacks. Yeah, I'm ready for the draft. Super Chat's Derpy501 asks, am I ready for the draft? Yep. Hey, do you remember who the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback was from North Dakota State? I'm trying to think of his name. I don't feel like looking it up. But for some reason, they're known to pump out. Oh, Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, his first couple of years in the league, was a good player. Then he kind of fell off a bit. I don't know what went on there. But yeah, I mean, if we can get that kid from North Dakota State and he plays like Carson Wentz, the Carson Wentz of his first 5 years, I'll take him. Thanks for giving me the name. I forgot it. So I was reading this today and I was just like, here we go. Every statistical category, the Steelers were in last place. Like even in punting, we can't even punt the ball. When you look at our punters' numbers from last year, you're just like, there's literally high school kids that play in Pittsburgh in the high school that can punt the ball better than Worthman or who was the Steelers punter last year? Steelers punter last year. Let me look at the super chat. He was good. He won 4 college titles. Wentz. Yeah, I agree. Steelers punter in 2025. Corliss Waitman. Yeah, Corliss Waitman. It's just like there was punts sometimes going off the side of the foot. He was getting like 20 yards in a punt. And then you look at the Steelers. It's like we're last in every category. We're last in every statistical category on defense. Offense, offense, I think we were a little better. But defensively and punting the ball, we were absolutely abysmal, like 32nd in the league. You can't win football games like that. You just can't. So the new Pittsburgh Steelers special teams coordinator, he says, my biggest concern with Pittsburgh's new special teams coordinator is the punter. Pittsburgh has a punting problem. 4 years, decades, really. The unit hasn't been sufficient. New special teams coordinator Danny Crossman's goal is to come in and fix that while improving our maintaining the other special teams unit. History says he may fix other aspects, but not punting. Here we go. Below is a chart of the average gross punting yards, how far a punt travels before the return, and NFL ranked during all 4 of Crossman's stints in the head roll. Carolina, Detroit, Buffalo, and Miami. Included in the chart is Pittsburgh's ranking over the Mike Tomlin era from 2007 to 2025. I can't really see the chart. 26, 28, 32. Crossman's numbers in Carolina were good. The rest were not. He had bottom tier finishes in Detroit, Buffalo, and Miami. Perhaps Buffalo can be excused given its cold weather and climate. Naturally unfriendly to punters. Still, Detroit plays indoors, even with the road games in Green Bay and Chicago. That's just a fraction of the season. And Miami is a warm weather climate, no matter the venue over the past 15 years. The results haven't been there. Pittsburgh's low finish isn't shocking like Buffalo. Punting at Acrisure and Cleveland and Baltimore and Cincinnati makes life tough. The city will always have a disadvantage. Still, there's no reason to accept finishing dead last in the league over nearly 20 years. So the entire time that Coach Tomlin was the coach in 20 years, the Steelers were dead last in punting. And I don't want to hear that it was just the field or the wind or whatever, because there are some punts off of Corliss Waitman. I remember last year, it'd be like, it would be a tight game and he would punt the ball like 20 yards and it just went off the side of his foot. It was just horrible. I used to always think, like, did Tomlin just give Corliss Waitman a job because they're friends or they know each other? Like, he did not look like a legitimate punter. And I'm going to say again, I would bet my life there's a kid in the Pittsburgh area that could probably punt the ball in the weather because he's been playing Pop Warner in high school, in that type of weather the whole time, and he's still punting the ball 45 to 55 yards. Hey, but leave it to the Steelers. God, it's just like you think it can't get any worse, and then it just does. Derpy5012 in the super chat said, I swear if we trade up for a lineman in the first round, I'm going to crash out so hard on a live. Tag the Steelers, then call all the big shows and rant on them. Yeah, well, I got bad news for you. That might happen. I think you're going to have to do that because I could definitely see them. If they take a guard, I'm going to lose my shit. I mean, I don't want them to take an offensive tackle either. I'd rather trade some of we have 3 third-round draft picks and a shitload of fourth-round picks. And, like, let's trade up. The draft class is not deep to begin with. And let's get Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State, or Sonny Styles, the linebacker from Ohio State. Like, give me somebody that I know that can play football. I'm going to read you a statistic in a minute about all the grades on these players that I think is pretty interesting. Let me find it. Derby501 ST in the super chat said, I'm saying if we trade up, it better be for a name, not a guard. I want down. Yeah, me too. Me too. Let me find this article. Man, I'm batting 1,000 today trying to find these articles. But oh, here we go. I mean, it's not like what the draft insiders say. It's not like it's like, the word of God itself. But I've read this a couple times in a couple different articles. Like, this is one of the worst draft classes ever, that there's not a lot of depth here. Derpy501 second 2 says in the super chats, I think he could be a Palomalo impact player. I mean, they've been saying that about Caleb Downs. I'm going to not say that until he, to say anybody's going to be next Troy Polamalu and not see him like in the NFL. I can't. I know where you're going. It's a great compliment. I hope it's true. I hope you're right, but I'm not going to go there for now. I got to see him play a couple games first. Will the Pittsburgh Steelers be able to get their hands on a true first-round prospect in the upcoming 2026 NFL Draft? With the number 21 selection in the first round, the answer is probably not. There's a difference between going in round 1 and being graded in round 1, ESPN's Matt Miller wrote. The average draft class has roughly 15 players who are deemed first-round talents. My own guideline is whether a player would have been a first-rounder in each of the past 5 classes. I gave only 13 first-round grades in the 2025 class, the lowest number I had awarded at the time. But the 2026 class actually ended with fewer, only 12. For context, the final list in 2024 had 18 names on it, and the 2023 list had 20. Let that sink in. Just 12 of this year's prospects would have been first-rounders over the last 5 years. With the Steelers selecting at number 21, they have some decisions to make. The average class has 15. The last 2 times the Steelers picked in the top 15 came in 2023 and 2019, trading up on both occasions to get there. They haven't naturally had a top 15 pick since 2014. Here are the 12 first-rounders that Miller identified in his final big board. Fernando Mendoza, Jeremiah. Let me just get to the defensive guys because I don't care about it. Caleb Downs is on there. Inside linebacker from Ohio State, Sonny Styles. Another inside linebacker from Ohio State, Arvell Reese. There we go. It's really crazy, and this is deeper than just that. The reason why we do not have, if you go back to the 90s, There were so many good players. First, second, third, fourth round picks, free aid. There were just so many good football players because these players worked harder back then. They had the two-a-days. They were held to a higher standard. They weren't a bunch of so you're seeing football, like the quarterback classes are atrocious. Like where are the Eli Mannings? Where are the Big Bens? Where are the, like every year, if you look at it from like the 70s to the early 2000s, you saw phenomenal players at like every position. Now the NFL, because of Roger Goodell and the way he runs the league and all these new rules where you can't practice, you can't do two-a-days, they're not developing players anymore the same, and it shows. It shows during the game when you watch shitty football. It shows in the draft. Like, there's only 12 first-rounders that were identified as actual first-round picks. So it's just what Derpy 501 ST2 said. I want Downs and kind of hope we get Omar Cooper too. I mean, yeah, that's true. But in order for us to get Caleb Downs, we're going to have to let go of some draft picks. And I think that's why, I really do believe that's why Omar Khan is stockpiling the draft picks. So I hope it happens. I do. Because it's not about quantity. You could draft 100 players in a draft. It doesn't mean that any of them are going to even make your roster. If you let's say, for instance, every year for the next 15 years, you had 7 draft picks or 6 draft picks, but 3 of those draft picks became, Hall of Fame players. You're good every year. You're making your team great every year. When you draft like, 15 guys and, every 3 years, none of them are on your roster anymore. It's like draft after draft that Tomlin had. It's like only one player is left over from the draft class where he made all the picks. Your organization is in trouble. And then not to mention the talent is more scarce because the way that Roger Goodell runs the NFL and the league, we're starting to see this play out before our eyes. But I think it's a lot deeper than what people think. I think with all the new rules, I think what kids really not wanting to play football anymore, they want to be on social media. Everybody wants to be a YouTuber. Like, you're not seeing the cream of the crop. You're not seeing the Dan Marinos anymore. You're not seeing the Jim Kellys. You're not seeing the Joe Montanas. You're not seeing these great players like we used to. I think we took it for granted. Go back to those early drafts, the 90s, early 2000s, especially the 80s. You look at some of those draft classes, you're like, holy shit. Like in the first round, there's like 11 Hall of Fame players picked in the first 10 picks. And then the other players drafted after that, they were excellent players also. They just weren't like an elite. That's when the NFL was really the NFL. And that's when it was a great game to watch. Listen, I love the NFL, but Roger Goodell has single-handedly destroyed the NFL. He's destroyed the product on the field. These players are not as seasoned. Yeah, they get bigger and stronger every year, but it's one thing to be bigger and stronger. It's another thing to play football. It's totally different. So you could put all this on Roger Goodell. Mike McCarthy shares subject of first conversation with Jalen Ramsey. There's tremendous value. Yeah, we're staying right down the same path. We're talking about player flexibility. It's really the first conversation I had with Jalen, McCarthy said via the Steelers website. Looking at our defense, particularly from the offensive perspective, whether you're a pass rusher or dynamic secondary player, if you can line up at safety, nickel, dime, and jump out the corner in a matchup situation, there's tremendous value in that. I don't know. I've said the same thing. I just don't see that anymore. I don't see Jalen Ramsey as that guy anymore. If Jalen Ramsey can't play, when defensive backs, when cornerbacks get old and they lose a step and they can't cover as well anymore, they can't change direction as they once did, where do they all go? They go to safety. And then once they really can't play the safety spot as well, when all the traffic is right in front of them, they're usually out of the league. Now, Jalen Ramsey's getting paid huge money. Do I think he should be the slot corner? Absolutely not. I think Asante Samuel Jr. should be the slot corner. But hey, if you want to argue with me and prove me wrong, that's fine. But I saw Jalen Ramsey last year get toasted in a lot in coverage. Again, I don't know everybody's assignments. I'm not in the film room. I could be wrong, but when you watch it, it looks like he was burnt multiple times, and he's not used to playing safety. He keeps peeking in the backfield, and receivers are running right by him and going for big gains. I think the Steelers made, for the millionth time, I think the Steelers made a big mistake trading away Minkah Fitzpatrick. You traded away Minkah to get Jalen Ramsey and Jono Smith. Jono Smith is gone. And now you replaced Minkah with Jalen Ramsey, a player that's never really played safety before. That decision by Tomlin made absolutely no sense. So, Cincinnati's Jake Golday is classic Pittsburgh Steelers type linebacker, says Bucky Brooks. Excuse me. This guy having experience early, having his hand in the dirt, playing on the edges, and then playing linebacker. He does a bunch of different things, Brooks said Monday on his Move the Six podcast. When I look at him, he strikes me as a classic Pittsburgh Steelers type, heavy-handed. He's another good one. And when you look at his testing numbers were really impressive in terms of the way he moved around. Golday spent 5 seasons playing college football, with the first 3 coming at Central Arkansas and then final 2 being at Cincinnati. As Brooke alludes to, Golday started out as an edge rusher but transitioned to linebacker after tearing his meniscus in the 2021 season. That shows up in his film too. He finished last season with 105 tackles, 6 tackles for a loss, 3.5 sacks. Golday plays with a different level of violence for a linebacker because of his background. It's not playing. It's fine. I mean, I don't know anything about him. I'd have to watch some film. I read the article. When you hear Pittsburgh Steelers type linebacker, well, I hope he's the next Jack Lambert, and I hope if that's the case, we get our hands on him. So, Dick LeBeau, that's my guy. He says that the greatest football player that he's ever seen was James Harrison's Super Bowl pick 6. Let me see what he said. James Harrison got a guy through and he dropped back and picked it off, LeBeau said Monday on the Debo and Joe podcast. When I saw he had it, he got it to the end zone. I said, James, get down on the ground. On that play, the only guy that didn't get a block was the corner clear over here on the left side. Everybody else on the field got a block on that return, and some guys got 3. I'm screaming, get on the ground. I see him get a little open space, and then he cuts out towards the bench, and he went right by me, and I said, run, James, run. It's the greatest football play I've ever seen. Well, let me tell you from my own experience what happened to me on this play. I had a Super Bowl box, and I was about to win, I think, $7,000 or $10,000. It was, I think the box cost me like $700 or $1,000. And that play cost me big time. It was, if the Cardinals get a touchdown on that play, I win the halftime box. I mean, it was a bittersweet moment for me. Obviously, I want the Steelers to win, but it cost me a lot of money. That play really hurt my pockets. Oh, James, you owe me 10 grand, James. I remember thinking to myself, I started laughing. I walked into the kitchen shaking my head. And I was just like, God really does hate me. You know that? Here it is, my team. And James Harrison picks it off in the end zone to go, 105 yards for the score. Yeah, that it was bittersweet and it hurt, but hey, I was happy. I was happy at the end of the game. Kaboly's a little concerned if Steelers won't resign tight end Darnell Washington. You know what I'm worried about? I'm a little concerned the Steelers might not re-sign Darnell Washington this year, Mark Kaboly said on his Kaboly and Mac podcast. I don't know any information that will lead me to believe that, but I'm just having a feeling that maybe that's not a top priority of a guy they're wanting to get done. Well, I'm not really going to read the article if it's just a feeling. He's very valuable in the run game. And he does get open a lot, for a bigger guy when he gets on the field and runs some routes. He does, get open. You saw him and Aaron Rodgers had a pretty good connection last year. So, I listen, I love Big Country. I got nothing bad to say. I think he'll be re-signed. Oh, here we go. Joey Porter Jr. refutes report about how he reacted when Mike Tomlin stepped down. Yeah, I remember the original report. I reported on it, but I didn't make up the rumor that Joey Porter Jr. was hyperventilating. So if you see this video, Joey Porter Jr., I didn't just start that rumor that you were hyperventilating. I read that in Steelers Depot. So let me see what you have to say. Whoever said I was hyperventilating on the internet on my life, I was not, Porter said recently on the Blueprint podcast. There was someone who came on the internet and said that I was hyperventilating. I was sick. I ain't even going to lie. Definitely shed a tear, but hyperventilating is crazy. Listen, I read that, okay, and then I reported on it. I reported on that and TJ Watt going, no, 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 no. And then Aaron Rodgers, I didn't do enough. I didn't do it. It's like, dude, come on. Just stop. You haven't won a playoff game in 10 years. Coach Tomlin seems like a great guy. You guys make so much money. You can have steak dinners every weekend, fly out to see him. It was time to move on. But I want you to know right now, Joey Porter Jr., if you come across my video, I was not the one that started that rumor about you. We do honest journalism here, okay? Just letting you know. And if I get it wrong, I'll be the first person to admit, but I get my information from legitimate sources and I rely on them because obviously I don't have a press pass to get into the locker room and do my own thing. So I hope this isn't true. I hope this article is wrong. The Steelers going to break towards wide receiver. KABOLY doubles down on Steelers' first-round selection. I really hope not. I still think it's wide receiver going in the first round. KABOLY said Monday on 93.7 The Fans Morning Show. They'll be interested in offensive line if it's there. It's going to have to be however that draft breaks, but it's going to break towards wide receiver. They need it. I mean, the offseason dictates of what they're going to do. And tell me who their receivers are behind Michael Pittman Jr. and DK Metcalf. I mean, well, tell me who the safeties are, and I don't know. I'm biased. You know, I like defense, but if Jalen Ramsey goes down or Deshaun Elliott goes down, we have problems because the backups are really not. You know, to me, you know, if they were on any other, I mean, they're making a big deal about signing Jaquan Brister. I hope it works out. It's not that I don't want these players to work out, but you know, when you're a journeyman, you know, I want elite players. I want the Troy Polamalos. I want the Mike Wagners. I want the I'm forgetting somebody. Hold on. I want the Mel Blunts, but that's not who I was trying to say. Give me a second. Why do I always forget his name? From the 80s, 70s. Hold on. Donnie Shell. We want the Donnie Shell. So, look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope Jaquan Brister is better than Troy Polamalu. I hope that I'm wrong, but we don't have a lot of depth at safety either. So, I know we signed a lot of guys, but they just seem like guys, if you ask me. I hope it's not wide receiver, and I hope it's not an offensive guard. If we take a left tackle, I'm not going to complain. If it's wide receiver, if it's guard or wide receiver, or if we reach for a quarterback, I'm going to lose my mind. Jeremiah suggests Steelers move Troy Fautanu to left tackle if they can land Utah offensive lineman Spencer Fanu in first round. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers have spent the last few years rebuilding their offensive line, and that's starting to bear fruit. Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, and Troy Fautanu all look like quality long-term starters. However, Broderick Jones hasn't panned out as well. That means offensive tackle could be a high priority for the Steelers in this year's draft. Expert Daniel Jeremiah thinks Utah offensive tackle Spencer Fanu would be a home run pick for the Steelers in the first round, but it might cause them to shuffle some of the pieces up front. I think that would be a heck of a value pick, Jeremiah said Monday on the Mina Kimes show, and I don't think Fautanu would be there for the Steelers when they got him. I think he can kick over to left tackle now. He's plenty athletic and rangy. Then you would have two super athletic tackles if Fanu's at right and you have FAUTANU. I don't know. Troy Fontana is not the type of player. I don't know. I mean, sometimes guys have problems transitioning. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I know one thing though. You can't count on Broderick Jones to play well. He's very streaky, and then the injury, issue with the neck now. So that's why I do believe the Steelers are going offensive tackle in the first round. It's just too much of an important position not to get it right. So. KABOLY, Steelers anticipate Aaron Rodgers wanting a raise, but wouldn't entertain $30 million. What do you mean wouldn't entertain? He wants more money than $30 million? Here we go. That includes financial considerations. Charlie Batch recently speculated that he believes the holdup was due to money, and he figured Rodgers might want $30 million per year. There was some reporting that pushed back on that, but Batch recently doubled down on his belief that Rodgers wants $30 million, while beat writer Mark KABOLY doesn't believe that's a number the Steelers would entertain. He does think they expect to pay more for Rodgers' services in 2026. That's what people probably are questioning, the number Batch threw out. I think what he really meant is Rodgers, going to want to be paid more, and I think the Steelers do anticipate him wanting a raise. But that big 3-0 mark, I don't think that's something he would ask for, something they would even entertain, to be honest with you. KABOLY said Monday on 93.7 The Fan. It's pretty clear that Rodgers outplayed his $13.6 million deal last year, but it also seems clear that if it's all about the money for Rodgers at this point in his career, I mean, if I'm the Steelers, he wouldn't really have to ask me for a raise. I would just give him the $20 million and just be like, here, we'll give you 20. I would go to him first. The Steelers always mishandle these things, and then players take it personal, and then it just gets out of hand. And then, then they end up getting more money. You saw the way the TJ Watt contract was handled. Everybody blames TJ. Oh, he's washed up, blah, blah, blah. First of all, he's not washed up, so let's get that out of the way. If the Steelers would have handed the contract early and didn't let Max Crosby, of all people, set the market, the Steelers wouldn't be on the hook for all that money. So the Steelers need to handle this the right way for once. Just, give him a $7 million raise without him asking for it. I'm sure he'll, be grateful, and we could just start the season. '26 draft scouting report. Utah edge Logan. We got too many pass rushers. So Steelers' new coaching staff is working hard. We put a lot on their plate. Steelers' new coaching staff not spared from heavy draft work, Omar Khan says. I give a lot of credit to the coaches too, Khan said Wednesday, discussing their role in the draft via the Steelers website. These guys have been dealing with moving, having to put a playbook together, adjusting to different things. And at the same time, we've put a lot on their plate and asked them to evaluate a lot of football players. I think McCarthy really embraced our process, Khan said, but the cool thing about it has been just the new ideas. Hearing how he's done it at other places, he's been at other winning organizations and successful organizations that have done it in a certain way. We like how we do it, but there's nothing wrong with hearing about how other people do it and taking some ideas and putting it in our system. Well, I do expect us to be a much better team this year, so it's good news. I think we're going to be much better coached, but we'll have to wait and see. But if I had to bet, I would bet yes. Let's see what else is going on. Steelers world. Patrick Queen says he wants to win a Super Bowl more than anything, but knows time is ticking. Being able to hold that Super Bowl trophy and just know that you on top of top, that's a feeling that nobody's going to be able to beat. I want to be able to feel that. I want to be able to experience that and everything that comes with it. Queen said this week on the Football Frame of Mind podcast. It's just so much stuff you think about, and I'm already in year 7, so it's not like I'm just coming into the league. So it's time is ticking, but I know I'm still just going to be getting better. Well, I hope you're right. I hope this day comes sooner than later. I know Art Rooney, the second's not getting any younger, so he, I'm sure he wants to get to a Super Bowl also. This is not a rebuild. We're plug and play. We want to compete. We want to go to the Super Bowl. So when you make predictions like, yeah, I think we're Super Bowl bound, I'm not just going to, if I don't think we're going to be Super Bowl bound, I'm not going to say. I thought last year we would be much better than what we were. And again, of course, once again, we played down to the competition. We lost the teams that we should have beat. We lost to the sorry-ass Browns. Like, there was games that we should have won that we were not a good football team last year. And I just think if we had different coaching, I think things could have went in a totally different direction than the way they ended for the Steelers last year. So I don't want to say we weren't good. We have good players, but again, the coaching at this level is so important. We do have some good players on offense and defense. I don't. It's very frustrating. It's very, very. I think everybody feels that way about the Steelers, that they're really underachieving year in and year out for the last 20 years. Let me finish it up with this. Draft direction will shape Jalen Ramsey's role, thinks beat writer. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Brian Backo believes that what unfolds in the draft might play a role in how the Steelers ultimately decide to deploy Ramsey in 2026. It might depend on what the draft brings them and how that shakes out, Backo said on Friday's edition of the North Shore Drive podcast. I think that's probably the biggest positive for Ramsey at this stage in his career. Is he can play inside corner. Maybe you're judicious with how you use him in the nickel. He can play safety. I think Ramsey could be that direction, or I think he could factor into the cornerback group. Look, you've heard me say, I've said it a million times, I don't think that's the case. I think that Asante Samuel Jr. and Brandon Eccles, they change direction better. They can hang with the receiver better. I think they need to be the slot corner. They need to be in the cornerback mix. I think Jalen Ramsey needs to be exactly where he is at free safety. And, if you get spread out wide, then obviously he's going to be in man coverage one-on-one somewhere. But I don't think he should be at cornerback at all. That's my opinion. And I'm not going to change it. So I think I've seen what I needed to see. All right, I'm going to end it with that. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2.